What's up, people? I am back for another video. Today we are reviewing Batman Forever, and man, I gotta say, I thought maybe I would enjoy this more on a rewatch. No, I'm gonna keep it real. I really don't have a lot of positives for this film. I think Val Kilmer is a decent Batman if this was a better movie. Like, I don't mind him as Bruce Wayne and Batman. I think if he was a better script, I think he could do it. But just fundamentally, there's just so much wrong. Obviously, the biggest one, the change of tone, what we got with '89 and Batman Returns to this shit. Because people complained about Returns being too dark, so we had to lighten up. So they wanted to go for like the Adam West tone, but it didn't work in 1995, especially compared to at this point. If we're talking about just within the comics, Dark Knight Returns, Death of the Family, Long Halloween, all iconic Batman comics, which were all dark by the time this was out. Even with Superman, this is like not long after Death of Superman. So they're doing all this dark stuff in the comics and all this stuff, but they're scared to do it in film, so this is what we get. This mishmash Frankenstein movie. Very much feels like a Frankenstein movie. I wouldn't mind seeing the Schumacher cut and see what we could have gotten, but the overly goofy tone just all around just kills this film. I mean, even from the start, just Two-Face is so over the top, and what sucks is I honestly think Tommy Lee Jones could have been a really good Two-Face if he had just played it serious. But because, like, up until this point, even in, like, The Fugitive, which was, like, 2 years before this film, and I'm pretty sure U.S. Marshals was, like, a couple years after this movie, but he was doing serious role, even in, like, the Men in Black movies to an extent. He was doing somewhat serious stuff, and then just, we get this goofy performance because he's trying to out-goofy Jim Carrey. I really believe that is what was hurting this film. He was trying to out-goofy Jim Carrey, and it just did not fucking work. And we got this just two goofy versions when Two-Face is not a goofy character. If anything, he should kind of be kind of a serious character. He's kind of cold, in a sense. That's why he has the whole, quarter flipping thing. And it just, in this, he plays it so just goofy. Just even from the start. I will say this. There's some good stuff. I didn't mind the initial Batsuit that you get in the start of the film. It looked like a little bit of an updated '89 version of the suit. I liked some of the fight scenes when he was like fighting some of the goons. You could tell he was moving a bit more, but then they just went this really goofy tone. Robin, if we're being honest, doesn't need to be in this movie. He feels very forced in. I will say I do dig the Robin suit in the film, but he doesn't necessarily need to be in the movie. You could easily write him out the movie, and the movie plays out the same. Jim Carrey was just playing the mask. Let's be real. That is what he was playing in this movie. Because The Mask was a year before this. So it makes sense they were just like, just play the mask in this. And that's what I believe. I wouldn't be surprised if WB just told him, just be the mask. Because that's what we got. It didn't fit. Everything was so over the top. Nothing was serious. So even like the Graysons being killed, I just couldn't take it seriously. Everything with Dr. Meridian was just cringe. That whole scene where she uses the bat signal to call him over, and she fucking does that black rubber line is some of the cringiest shit ever. And it's not, at least Batman and Robin, there is cringe in it, but I can laugh at it. You got the Mr. Freeze puns, and even some of like the back credit card. I can fucking laugh at that. I can laugh at some of the goofiness in Returns. In Batman and Robin. But I can't laugh at the goofiness here. It's just goofiness, but it's cringy goofiness, but not in a funny way. Like, it's just bad. I will say this. There are some positives. I don't think Val Kilmer is a terrible Batman. I think if Chris O'Donnell had better writing, I think he could be a good Robin. Same thing with Two-Face. I think if Tommy Lee Jones was written more serious, I think. Same with Gary. If they give him a bit more of a serious thing, he was already just Jim Carrey even as Enigma, even before he's in like the Riddler getup. It just doesn't feel he's just playing himself. I do like I like some of the sets, like some of the shots where you're just seeing the city. I love the shots where you literally can tell it's like a miniature. I love some of those shots, but then you get these really bad CGI. Like there's a scene where Batman's swinging down. This is where you first see him, and man, it looks terrible. It clearly is like they just computer rendered it and just threw it in the film. That's what it felt like. I'm like, God, guys, Jurassic Park was 2 years before this film. There's no excuse by this point. Even like Terminator 2 was 3 years, 4 years before this. Come on. There's so many movies that had better effects, and I'm not. I would assume this had a pretty decent budget, right? Like, and the funny thing about this film, one of the more things people remember is the fucking Seal song. Like, that is the crazy thing. You know, Kiss from a Rose. That's like the only thing most people remember from this film. I'm trying to think of any other positives I have. I do like the third act, like when Robin and Batman team up finally, like when Batman lets them put the suit on. I will say that was cool. That was some good stuff. But that's like the last maybe 20 minutes. That doesn't save the movie. And I think what hurts it is it's not funny bad, at least like Batman and Robin is. You know? So I think that's what hurts it. At least Batman and Robin, yes, it's bad, but at least you can laugh at it. Maybe at the time it seemed worse, but if we're talking about just now, at least Batman and Robin, I can watch and I'm like, I know, like, I didn't watch it that long ago. So where I'm like, you know what? I can at least laugh at it. Especially if I'm really fucked up, I can just sit down and watch it. This was just not funny bad. This was just bad. Like, the Two-Face was too over the top. Fucking Riddler was over the top. Just everything about the villains was over the top. Nicole Meridian was over the top very much because she had a crush on Batman. That's the entire whole arc of her character. They were almost doing like, I don't know if they were trying to go for like a Lois Lane kind of thing, but it just did not work because, especially when you follow up, this is what your follow up Michelle Pfeiffer with Batman with, where I'm like, you know what, maybe they should have never had a love interest in this film. It should have just been Batman doing Batman things. You know, I don't know. It felt forced. I didn't feel like Val and Nicole really had any chemistry, if I'm being fucking honest with you. I will say this, it's not the worst thing in the world. If I'm in the mood, I can maybe watch it again, but it just isn't great. Like, a lot of the film is just bad. Some of the really bad CGI, some of the really bad CGI look of Gotham compared to like the more realistic look Gotham had in Returns in '89. But some of the shots where you could tell it's a miniature is pretty good. But when it is like that clearly CGI shit, it looks terrible. So fundamentally, this is a bad movie. So I've given this like maybe a 5 at most. And that's mainly because of Val Kilmer and Chris O'Donnell, but everything else just, the villains were terrible. It's so sad because Tommy Lee Jones, I'm gonna say it again, I really think if he just played it more serious and didn't try to out fucking goofy Jim Carrey, because that's what I really believe he was doing. He was trying to out goofy Jim Carrey, and because apparently behind the scenes they didn't like each other. So I really believe that. So he was trying to, you know what? If Carrey's gonna be over the top, I'm gonna be over the top too. And the funny thing is, it's even before they team up. I feel like Two-Face is already, like, the moment you meet him, he's already fucking over the top. The way he moves, every little thing, like, get him. Like, even when the scenes where you tell his guys to get Batman, he does it so over the top and hammy. I'm like, what am I watching? It's bordering parody. It's the word I'm thinking of. It is very much bordering parody with some of the performances, especially with Two-Face. It's insane. Because I don't inherently hate the recast. Yeah, because technically it should have been Billy D. Williams. But I think Tommy Lee Jones, better written, could have been a good Two-Face. They decide, not they, I think this is on him. Because I guess he saw Carrie being over the top. He just felt like, I guess he had to try to outdo him on that. And it just, you could tell it very much hurt the film. So like I said, I'm going to give this film a 5 at best. But yeah, it's not good. The score is not terrible. I do like some of the score, though it's not as good as the 89 score, the Return score, but it's okay. I don't mind the main theme. It still has some good orchestral feel to it. I hate the new Batmobile design. I've ranted about this in other videos. The Batmobile design in this is shit. It clearly just looks like a toy. You can clearly tell they were going for it. Just make it look like a toy. I was even watching at the time. I was thinking about like, why did they change the design? But then I remembered they were trying to make a new toy because they already made toys of that, that 89/Returns Batmobile. So they're like, fuck it, just make a new one. So, and inherently, I wouldn't have hated it if they try to make it look like a car. But what we got is this really bad design. I hate the dorsal fin at the top. It looks like a toy. The front doesn't necessarily look terrible. I would have rather them just made an updated version of the 89 Batmobile. That's all they really had to do. You could have modernized it a little bit, but make it look recognizable. Especially when it's supposed to be technically within the same universe. Instead we get this one that just flat out looks like a toy. It doesn't look good. I've always, even as a kid, I've never really liked the design of Batman of the Batmobile in this. And Robin, because I think it also carries over in Batman and Robin. But yeah, I will say I did like this more as a kid. When I wasn't as critical on movies. But yeah, for sure, I don't like this now. It doesn't age well. Yeah. So. At least with Batman and Robin, I know it won't be good, but I can at least laugh at that one. So at least that'll make for a funny review because I can at least make fun of some of the ice puns and some of the stuff like that. This didn't have that. This is just, to me, just kind of bad. I will watch this again over the Batman. I will say that, but it's not a good film to me. So tomorrow will be Stone Cold. I was supposed to do that today, but things changed. So I'll be doing that tomorrow. Friday will be the Killers game since I don't plan on seeing anything new Friday anyway, so we can do that on Friday. So, but anyways, guys, let's get into this movie. So the movie starts where basically we see Batman stop the Riddler. Not the Riddler, Two-Face. You get a little... I know this is supposed to be like the comic, but I'm going to be honest. His origin was too much similar to me to the Joker. His Joker origin. It was a little different, but he falls basically in some chemicals and it fucks up his face. It's not that far off. But even Nicholson, yeah, did he ham it up a little bit? But I still felt like there was an element of somewhat like evil to him where it was still somewhat serious. I didn't feel like Two-Face or Riddler were a threat in this. And I should have mentioned too with Riddler, none of the riddles really matter. I will still say I felt like he was a better Riddler than Paul Dano, and that was more just because at least he wasn't a fucking incel, and at least he resembled the character from the comics. They did the whole. They did. This is a trope they've done in a couple comic book films where you have this nerdy character that loves the hero. They did this with this film, Amazing Spider-Man 2 with Electro, even Iron Man 3 with Guy Pearce's character, where they like the hero, and then even Syndrome, which is almost a parody of, which feels like a funny thing, and now I'm just seeing that more and more. Granted, this was back in '95, so it wasn't like overdone at the time, and they decided to go bad. So, and that's basically what Riddler's story is, because Bruce didn't turn down his idea for basically putting TV into people's minds, but Bruce was against it clearly because that could be manipulated and all that, and yeah, so that's when he goes bad basically. And I will say Jim Carrey did what he could. There were some funny moments with him in this movie. I mean, this was '90s Jim Carrey at his prime, so yeah, like I'm not gonna say those scenes didn't hit, but I don't also look like I would have rather him just maybe played maybe more of a comic style Riddler instead of this over the top. I mean, Riddler's a little over the top, but maybe if he dialed it back a little bit, I will say it's not as bad as Two Face, which we go back to the beginning of the film, where Two Face, just even from the start, was over the top. It was just not fun. Batman stops him. He saves a guy. There's a scene where Batman's in danger because a guy's locked in this safe, which is filled with water. So basically, they're about to drown. And then Batman, throughout the film, Bruce falls for Dr. Meridian, who diagnoses Riddler as because this is at this point where he gets the riddles, but initially she has a thing for Batman, and my God, it's like the thirst this woman has for Batman. It's in a way where there's nothing wrong with a little. I don't inherently have a problem with the character thirsting a little bit if it's done in a way where it's not cringe. The way she thirsts for Batman in this whole film, especially in the start, is very cringe to me. It's the scene where I'm just gonna jump ahead, where she calls Batman, she uses the bat signal just to like basically try to get some of the bat D, was some of the cringiest shit ever. It was like, what am I watching? Is this a parody? This is what it at this point it felt like I'm watching, like, if you remember the movie Superhero Movie, this kind of felt like that. This felt like they're like just meaning superheroes. She even makes a line like, about like bad boys and leather, and then this time it's black rubber, and she says it like, and then she like almost grabs his dick. It's like, what am I am like, what is happening? I'm like, what am I watching? What? And the funny thing is that Joel Schumacher is actually a good director. If you've seen a movie called Hard to Kill, or A Time to Kill, I think Hard to Kill is a different film. A Time to Kill, where it's with Samuel L. Jackson, and he killed some Klansmen because they almost raped his daughter, and he's on trial for it. Matthew McConaughey's in it. It's a pretty good fucking cast, and I'm pretty sure that was not long before this film. So it's like, what happened? And he's admitted that it was like a lot of that was studio interference because they wanted this more lighthearted Batman, because they blamed Returns not doing well because apparently parents are pissed off how dark it was and all that shit, even though, as I mentioned, some of those comics, like, Dark Knight Returns was not, I think Dark Knight Returns was in the 90s, or going into the 90s, so it's like, you had that, you had Long Halloween, you had, obviously, I think Death in the Family was by this point, some of the more iconic dark Batman stories. Batman in the comics was full on dark, especially post like '89. So you're really gonna have me believe, even at the time of this film was coming out, Batman comics were still dark. So that's what fucking irks me. It's just like they were fine with it in the comics, but I guess they were still looking at, well, as the comics, this is a film, more people are gonna see it. They even still had this retarded mentality back then, I guess, where, well, at least they still looked at it like, well, these movies are they're trying to still get like the general audience. But it's like I think if they just soldiered on with Dark Batman, it would have done better. Because Keaton was gone, because he didn't like the direction, and also because Tim Burton left. So it sucks. This is the direction we got. Like, anyway. Um, so at this point, they both go to the circus, and at this point, Riddler's goons attack it, and this is when you see like the flying Graysons, which I'm gonna say it. Robin feels forced in this film. He doesn't necessarily need to be in this. You could have had him be, maybe if he doesn't become Robin, he's just Dick Grayson, and then towards the end he becomes Robin, like the very end. Like he saves him, but he's not Robin yet. That's what should have been the film, because he feels randomly forced in. Because you could have easily still had Batman. Because even Dark Knight, there was two villains technically, and he beats them by himself. There's no Robin in that, so it makes no sense. Like Robin doesn't really have an arc of his own besides I want revenge on Two Face. Okay, that's it. And a fucked up thing is, I think he has more of an arc in kind of in Batman and Robin than this film, and that's the sad part of it. At least he does a bit more, and I feel like he stands out more in that film than he does in this. I do like his suit, and I do like some of the fight scenes toward the end, but that's it. Like, I think Chris O'Donnell was, casting wise, is not a terrible choice for Robin. I do dig the Robin suit, like the main one he gets towards the end. I do really like that scene in the end, but I feel like up until that point, Robin really doesn't matter in the film. So it just feels almost more forced to have him in this because they're like, we gotta have Robin in this because we could have, Batman and Robin was a big part of the '60s cartoon, so that's probably why they had to put Robin in. I honestly believe. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what they were like. You got to make it like the '60s cartoon, and Robin was there, so you got to have a Robin. So it's not just Batman brooding. You know what I think? I think that's part of it. So it's not just Batman brooding for like 2 hours. They're like, we got to have Robin there to have that like sidekick kind of lighthearted. Because what I'm gonna be real with you, when Batman's with Robin, generally, unless it's like obviously death in the family and stuff like that, generally Batman and Robin stories are a bit more like, not gonna say lighthearted, but they're not as like as intense as like they're just stopping bad guys. So I think they just wanted that and not some Batman brooding and going into some really deep stuff like that. They just wanted Batman and Robin just beating up bad guys for 2 hours, which on paper isn't bad, but they went this weird direction. And even the scenes when Riddler and Two-Face team up, it just doesn't hit. It's like now I'm like, okay, now we just got two over the top bad guys just being annoying now. It doesn't do anything for me. It's just like, why did they do this? I mean, I know why, but it's like they should have never caved. Like maybe if they wanted to lighten up a little bit, maybe not make it as dark as Batman Returns, fine, but it still has a little bit of that serious tone. I would have been fine with that, but we got this just not lighthearted in a, because to me, fundamentally, Batman is a dark character. He just is. His origin story, the city of Gotham, all this crime, you can't really make that lighthearted. You just can't. Batman, some of his villains are just serial killers, mobsters, these really kind of over the top criminals who kill people in the comics anyway. Like Joker does fucked up shit in comics. It's like you can't make that like lighthearted. It just makes no sense. But they tried because I guess they wanted to, even back then they just wanted to get this mainstream audience, and it just doesn't work. Because I do apparently in like the Schumacher cut they were trying to explore like Bruce. Apparently they were trying to show like, oh, there's a scene where Bruce is trying to like almost blames himself for his parents' death, which That's always somewhat been a thing, but they were going to explore that more and all that stuff and what really caused him to be Batman. And I think that could have been good, but that was all cut, and this is what we got. Because none of that's there. It's just him lusting after this woman, and they don't have chemistry. I don't necessarily hate Nicole Kidman. I think she's an okay actress, but she doesn't, in this movie, she's just thirsty for Batman, and she doesn't really have any chemistry with Bruce when she's specifically dealing with Bruce, not Batman. And even with Batman, I don't really feel like they have chemistry either. So I don't care for the relationship. He's struggling with trying to tell her he's Batman while Riddler and Two Face try to basically fund the plan to basically do the whole thing that that Riddler wanted to do with the whole TVs into your minds. We're gonna do that like mass, basically. And initially trying to stop them, Batman gets basically nearly taken out, and Robin has to save him. Because Robin tries to beg him to help him take out Two Face, but Batman turned him down initially. And yeah, it's just, and also to say it, the pacing's weird. There's scenes where it just kind of meanders too a little bit, and I'm just like, okay, I'm just kind of bored. Not bored, but close to it. It's just like, okay, what is happening? Like, are we gonna get anywhere? And yeah, and yeah. The soundtrack's good, and like I said, there's some good shots here and there, but it's not really a good film. I don't like the direction they go with these characters, and I just don't like the tone of this overall Batman. And this was the start. Obviously, Batman and Robin, in terms of like the public eye, basically solidified it. But at least for me, Batman, I'm gonna say it, Batman and Robin's better than this. At least Batman and Robin has the meme factor. And I know some people say you shouldn't really actually count that as a thing, but I'm going to personally. At least I can laugh at that. There's that laugh. I can laugh at it. You have some of the freeze puns. Chill. Like, at least that stuff I can laugh at. And it's more easy to make fun of, but in a fun way. This is just kind of bad. The villains are just over the top in a cringy way, but at least the villains in Batman and Robin, they're as bad. I will agree there. On paper, they are just as bad. But in Batman and Robin, at least it's funny bad. Like, even Bane. Like, even that's just kind of funny to laugh at. Poison Ivy. Like, I can laugh at some of how, like, the over-the-top performances, at least. There's not that here. Like, I can kind of give Carrie some props, but man, Two-Face is just terrible. He should not be over the top. He is, if you're going to have him be over the top, maybe have him be over the top violent, but not over the top in the comedy. He's not supposed to be hammy. No, he's a tortured soul in that sense. His face is fucked up, so he kind of needs to be dark and more of a. He kind of should just be cold. I'm gonna flip and you should die. Like, I think Aaron Eckhart, even though he doesn't get a lot of time in The Dark Knight, that is how keep saying Mr. That is how Two-Face should be. That is how Two-Face should be. Like that. Not over the top. Very much cold. Kind of calculating in a way. Kind of chilling. Especially when it gets to the point, I'm gonna flip for it. You do have that, like, oh shit. Am I gonna die? Am I gonna live? That's Two-Face. But what we got here, and it sucks, because I love Tommy Lee Jones, but the fact that it's almost ego, man. Really, you had to, like, try to out-ham and out fucking over-the-top Jim Carrey, especially when they're in scenes together. You could clearly tell he's trying to out-ham him. But even before the film, before they get together, it's just, they were already doing it. It hurts the film. Two-Face should have been the one playing it straight. You could have had Riddler be over the top. If it was just Riddler being over the top, fine. I could kind of live with it, even though you could tell the director's like, just be the Mask in this. But they just, at least if they had Two-Face be serious, you could have balanced it a little bit. But no, Two-Face couldn't, because Tommy Lee Jones had to try to out-ham Jim Carrey. because whatever beat they had behind the scenes, and it's so stupid. And it's so obvious, especially when they're doing the scenes together, man. You could tell he's trying to out hand Carrie every time they speak. Like, the Carrie does something over the top, and he's like, I gotta out over the top that line. It's like, oh. So it's like hard to fucking watch. So I'll just skip to the third act. Batman, well, because Meridian gets kidnapped by Riddler's people, because at this point they realize Bruce is Batman. They destroy the the Bat Cave, or damage it anyway. So, Dick comes back, and Bruce basically allows him to be Robin, and basically that scene is really good, I will admit. When he's like, I won't promise I won't kill Two-Face. I do like that scene. He gets the suit and even puts like the Robin symbol, and they do the zoom. That stuff's good. And it's like, why didn't we get more of that? But no, we had to go for this over-the-top tone because we had to do this lighthearted film because we had to be not Batman Returns, basically, and it just doesn't work. But you know what I'm going to title this video, though? The start of Batnips. Because even the start of the film, you get kind of like the same shot you get in Batman Return, Batman and Robin, where they like zoom in on the bat nipples and the bat crotch. It's so like, god damn it, why are we... I didn't realize they started in this movie. They don't do it as much. I think that's like the only scene they do it. Even the suit-up scene later, they don't do it, but in Batman and Robin they do. But it's like the start of the film they do. But yeah, the start of the Batnips, it's probably what I'm going to title this video. Because, man, that's what this film is. It's the start of the Batnips. And, yeah, Riddler and not Riddler. Two-Face and Robin have a fight. Robin decides to spare Two-Face. Granted, the way they do it, it does make Robin look fucking retarded. They could have did it better. I get what they were going for. They could have edited it better because, man, it makes Robin look fucking retarded. Because he's about to let Two-Face go over the ledge, and then he brings it up, and instantly Two-Face just pulls a gun. And then I'm like, wait, Robin, one, he's trained. He couldn't just take the gun out of his hand. There's also, if he had brought him, he could have checked for the gun. It should have been a scenario. He's like beaten. But I get it because I had to make it lighthearted. Because realistically, the scenario should have been him beating the shit out of Two-Face with his hands. And in that way, he could probably take his gun away. But no, it couldn't. So he had to do it over this ledge thing so he doesn't see he has a gun. Because the moment he, oh, gun! And it's like, you couldn't just take it out. But I guess, if I remember also, I think like his guys show up too. So I think that's what happens. So Robin's held. They basically make Batman make a choice, Robin or Meridian, but he obviously saves them both. Whatever. I think they're still dating by the end. Even though she does not return at all in Batman and Robin. She's not even referenced, if I remember right. She might be, for all I know, but I don't remember her being referenced in Batman and Robin. And basically, Two-Face gets too much information and it fucks up his brain. And Two-Face, I think, goes to jail. And, Robin is officially Robin. They team up together now. Yeah. So that's pretty much the movie. This is not good, man. Be real with you. If it at least had the meme bad aspect about it, I think I would give it a higher rating, but it just doesn't. It just doesn't. Like, if I would be real, I would probably give Batman and Robin objectively probably a 5.5. Mainly because, yes, it's bad, and you could argue objectively it probably should be worse, but I at least have the meme aspect about it. This doesn't have that. This just doesn't have that, man. And maybe they were trying to go for the, I think they were definitely trying to go for the Batman and Robin. I mean, the the Adam West Batman tone, but I think in a way Batman and Robin even does that kind of better. I don't think they really show it here that much. Um, the tone shift is so. I also think it's very jarring too. Watching Batman Returns and then you watch this, it just is a jarring turn. Gotham looks kind of worse, if I'm being honest, though overly futuristic. I do like, though, Bruce's office. I should have mentioned there's a scene he goes to in his office and it, like, drops him to the Batcave. That's kind of cool. I do like that stuff. But it's just, there's not enough good to carry the film, man. The One of the, like, Two-Face should have been the serious one, but no, because Tommy Lee Jones, not Robert, Tommy Lee Jones had to try to out basically over the top fucking Jim Carrey. It's just ego kind of fucked up the film. You couldn't just lay back and decide, I'll be the serious one, you be the goofy one. Even if he didn't like him personally, play it professional and be like, what, I'll be the serious one. It makes sense. Especially at that point, Tommy Lee Jones is a serious guy. Why the fuck are you trying to out Hammy and be the comedy act? It makes no sense. And if you're gonna have the comedy, Tommy Lee Jones has his own kind of set of comedy, like as you see in like the Men in Black movies. He has his kind of style of comedy. It's not the over the top stuff. He's not Hammy in the Men in Black movies. So it's just like, why, man? It almost tarnishes. Not gonna say tarnishes. That's a little bit over dramatic, but it's just like, why, man? If he just played Two-Face straight, I honestly think he would have been a good Two-Face. But no. And if maybe with Carrie, they just needed to dial back the over the top a little bit, not have him be the Mask. I get it. He had just did the Mask the year before, but guys, you don't need to copy trends. We get it. He was the Mask, but this is when you try to. This is a case of typecasting a little bit too. We're like, okay, you just got to be the Mask in this, and it doesn't make sense. Riddler does have a little bit of an over the top, even in like the Arkham games that kind of comes through. But it's not over the top like they did in the film. He doesn't feel like the Mask. Riddler is not the Mask. And I feel like that's what they were trying to go for in this. He might as well have just been the Mask if he was a Batman villain. That's what it felt like. It just did not work in the tone overall. So it just hurts. Like the mishmash of the two over-the-top villains. The Meridian stuff. The relationship just didn't matter. All she was is a Batman fucking fangirl, and it wasn't in a fun way. It was very cringe. All her scenes with Batman are cringy. Even like the introduction, just the way it's like the thirst is real, bro. It's like, come on, man. That's not fun to watch. It'd be the equivalent if there was some like male guy, like a male, like being overly over the top, like attracted to Wonder Woman. That'd be kind of cringe to watch. This dude who's like constantly trying to hit on Wonder Woman and all that. That'd be cringe to watch too. I'm like, what am I watching? Like, there's scenes, especially that rooftop scene, man, where she uses the bat signal. That felt like a porno. Even some of the lines Batman was saying in that, I'm like, what the fuck? Man, this film is not good. It's not the worst Batman film. I still say the worst Batman film in terms of, if I'm being honest, is the Batman, but it might be Rises in terms of just the way they drop the ball in the ending. Because at least the ending is pretty good. I think at least that saves this movie a little bit. Dark Knight Rises overall is still a better movie, but the ending fucks it up to where it almost does make it the worst story, at least story-wise. Story written wise, the worst Batman film. But technically for me, it's the Batman. I'm sorry, it just is. The way they incel Riddler, the fact I've only watched it once, I will stand by that. I've watched Batman Forever a couple of times. I've watched Dark Knight Rises a couple of times. Even Batman and Robin a couple of times. And especially within the last couple of months, I've even watched it. So this is just, I've only seen once. I've only ever seen the Batman once, and I only kind of want to keep it that way. It's one of those I still vividly remember to where I don't necessarily even need to watch it again to have a second thought. I think it's too long. And now it's kind of turning into a Batman rant, but Fuck it. It's just too long. It's bloated. The fact that Batman knocks on a fucking door, yeah. But this is up there though. What they do with Two Face, that's like probably the worst thing for me. The tone shift. For me, one of the big things about Batman films, what makes a great Batman film, the villains have to be great. I mean, obviously, some of the best Batman films have the best villains. Obviously, 89, Joker, Batman Returns, Two Face, not Two Face, Penguin and fucking Catwoman, um, Begins with Rage, Dark Knight again with the Joker. And I know some people don't like BBS, but I'll say I like Lex in that film. So for me, one of the things a lot of these have in common, they are good villains or decent villains. When you've like where one of the things about a lot of the worst Batman films, the villains aren't good. Riddler and the Batman. This I don't like the portray. The fucked up thing is the Riddler in this is a better Riddler than the Batman. That's a fucked up part because the Riddler is just literally the mask. And he has some moments, where it's kind of funny, but it just it's like they're almost like just be Jim Carrey, don't be the Riddler, just be Jim Carrey or just be the mask. That works for that role. It didn't work here. Um and obviously I've ranted enough about Tommy Lee Jones as Two Face. Um Batman, I felt like there's too many moments where he was throwing one-liners, which I don't like. That's not a Batman thing. Or if you're gonna do it, there's a way to do it. The animated series is a perfect example of how to do it because he has one-liner moments in that show, and even in his own series, but obviously in the Justice League, that's probably the more common one. But even in that, it's done in a way where it still feels like that's a Batman thing. This comes off very like you gotta. I don't know what they were trying to do. They were trying to go for because even like I think Adam West did have his one-liner moments in the original show. That's probably what they were trying to go for, and it just didn't work. So I don't like this film, as you can tell. I think there's some moments. I think the ending, not the ending, but like the third act where Batman and Robin team up is pretty good, but everything else sucks. And it's not in a fun, bad way like at least Batman and Robin is. That's bad. And you could argue objectively it's probably a worse movie, but at least Batman and Robin I could laugh at. That there's the meme factor does help that film a little bit. There's none of that in this. So the fact that the Seal song is like the only thing that carries this film is fucking crazy. So yeah, 5.5 out of 10. It's not five. I mean, not 5.5. 5 out of 10. One of the worst Batman films for sure for me. It's not Val Kilmer's fault. I think if he had a better script, he would be a better Robin. I mean, Batman. I think if Crystal Dawn had more to work with besides just Two-Face made me mad because killed family. Because even in the comics, they handle that much better. The way, Dick wants revenge on, the people who kill his family. That's done far better in the comics than they did here. You know? And, if Tommy Lee Jones just played it straight as Two-Face, and if they dialed the Riddlers over the topness a little bit, I think this could have been a much better film. So, next is Batman and Robin, and man, I'm not gonna lie, at least I'll have fun roasting that and have some fun laughs along the way with that film. So that alone makes it better than this one. So I will say the only thing that's better is Tommy Lee Jones. I will say this is better is Val Kilmer is a far better Batman than fucking George Clooney. I'll say that. That's the one thing this film has over Batman and Robin is it's a better Batman. Fucking George Clooney was George Clooney in that. You could tell he was phoning it in, even the behind the scenes, some of the scene, the fucking the scene he's doing before he filmed. That awkward, just like silence. You could tell that was just real while they were filming that scene. It just, but like I said, everything else, at least I can have fun with. Even the over the topness and I will say Gotham, at least the newer Gotham looks a little bit better in this one. Because I don't think there's as much uber CGI shots like they try to do with this one. Because CGI is horrible in this film, man. It looks bad, bro. I can't front. And it's like, oh, it was 95. I'm like, Jurassic Park was 2 years before this film. Um, Terminator 2 was 4 years before this film. Or no, 3 years before this film. So it's like, those films have some of the best CGI in film history. So, just say. So, but anyways, I'm going to wrap it here. This film is not good. I'd watch it if you just want to watch all the Batman movies. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world, and I don't hate Joel Schumacher or anything. At least he like apologized and acknowledged he kind of fucked up, so I can respect that. So, anyways, so 5 out of 10. Tomorrow I will be reviewing Stone Cold. It's a movie my friend Steve recommended me. So I'm gonna be checking that out tomorrow, and then the Friday I'll be doing the Killers game, and then Screen Rant article on Saturday, and then maybe Sunday I'm gonna do the. I want to rant about like the music in wrestling right now, just because to be honest, with you, that's like the one thing that I love wrestling. Y'all know I've been happy with mainly WWE. I'll be honest, this is a WWE specific video where the music has been like the only real negative I have. So, anyway, so I'll talk about that Saturday. And yeah, so Saturday, Pin Down Podcast. So, get ready to wrap here. All right, y'all. Talk to y'all tomorrow for Stone Cold, and talk to y'all later.